In my restless dreams, I see that town, Silent Hill.
It's one of those videos I never actually thought I'd have to sit here and make. But yet here we are. It happened. Finally, it happened. For better or for worse, which we'll get into, it's finally happened. What's up, everyone? It is Q here from Retro Q Gaming, and well, last night it happened. It's been rumored, tipped, leaked, inside reported, whatever it is, for a while now. But as of a few days ago, Konami decided that they would put out a new, updated Future of Silent Hill transmission, as they called it. Now, that transmission took place last night on the 19th of October 2022. But there were several things announced, several things discussed, several things revealed, etc., etc. But I'm not going to talk about everything in that video. No. This isn't a recap or a thoughts and impressions or feelings or anything like that. We're talking about one specific announcement that was made in that trailer last night. That one, of course, was a full, from the ground up remake of Silent Hill 2 for current generation and high-end PC. Now, I say current generation because so far it's only announced for PS5 and PC, but the wording on there says that it will come to other platforms after 12 months. So it's most likely coming to Xbox Series L in some type of way in 12 months after its eventual PS5 and PC launch. There's no date on it just yet, but that's not really the crux of this video. We're not really highlighting that too much. Now, the reason why we are making this video today is to express concern. To express concern. Now, there's many things I'm concerned about when it comes to this, specifically about Silent Hill 2 and the fact that it's getting remade and who's remaking it, etc. What might be changed, what might not be changed, what might be updated, what might not be updated, what might be added or removed. But let's break it down piece by piece, shall we? So, historically, remakes of games can go either way. You typically don't find an, I won't say adequate, but an average remake of a game. If you remake a long, historic, fan-loved, widely critically acclaimed game, in many ways it goes, or many times it goes two different ways. It's either completely panned and too different, or it's, well, gone over the top and just balls to the wall completely changes that almost doesn't resemble the original product. So you see the problem here. There's nothing that's adequate or I don't want to say satisfactory. It's either really good or really bad. And typically the ones that have been really good are few and far between. I mean, granted, I'm going to sit here and I am not thinking about this because it is literally just coming off the top of my head. But realistically, Shadow of the Colossus remake is probably the only one I can think of right off the top of my head. There's a couple of others, but that aren't 100% qualified in there. You've got the likes of Resident Evil 1 remake, the one from the GameCube that was then HD ported over to all the other stuff. I'm not sure if that one qualifies because there was changes made. It's very different in many ways. There's extra additional content and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So you see my point here. So anyway, let's get back to some of the other things with it. The reason why all of this is so concerning. Now, I know we still have other points. Technically, I should have done all the other points first, but we're just going off the fly here. It's what we do. Everybody knows that. So one of the biggest reason why I'm concerned about this whole situation, including what we'll get to now in a moment, is that this is a game that's very near and dear to my heart. Now, anyone can say that. I mean, I'm sure Silent Hill 2 is near and dear to many people's heart. It's critically acclaimed. It's considered a masterpiece in many ways. And it's frequently considered one of the best games ever made. Definitely considered one of the best games of the PS2 and one of the, if not the best game in the survival horror / psychological horror genre. Personally, I always consider it more of a psychological horror than a survival horror, which is more the lines of Resident Evil. But I digress. So, anyway, back to what I was saying. This is not just one of my favorite games of all time in the sense that, oh yeah, I love this game, it's excellent and all as well. For those of you who may remember, I think it was a few years ago at this point. I don't remember when I did it. I'm going to assume it was maybe 3 years ago, give or take. I put out a video of my top 10 favorite games of all time. And if you have or haven't seen that video, spoiler alert, but I highly recommend you go and watch it anyway. But spoiler alert in case you haven't. Well, Silent Hill 2 is the only non RPG on that list. What does that say? Think of how many games I've played, how many critically acclaimed games I've played, how many games that I exceptionally, extremely love that are so near and dear and special to me that I've played. 9 of which of my top 10 are JRPGs, and the only one that isn't is Silent Hill 2. Just to let that weigh on you for just a moment. But back to some of the other things that we have concern about. So one, we've already talked about potential changes, if they will do it justice, if it will be faithful, what will and won't be changed. So you get the idea from that. But that all stems in part with two other things. One, modern remakes. We've already said it already. These things can be changed, and it brings in the horribly updated phrase because let's face it, this thing is basically a kiss of death on any project it's attached to. It has not, I do want to reiterate, it has not been used in conjunction with Silent Hill 2, but it's just, it could be there in the background. It could be part of the design philosophy that we as the public are not privy to. But updated for modern audiences. Now, I'm not going to go into spoilers here because there are maybe many people who have never played Silent Hill 2, and this PS5 and PC version, or this current gen version, because it's going to come to Xbox as well. This may be their first time playing it, so I'm not going to get into spoilers. I'm not going to say anything, but let me just say one thing. There are several instances, including one very specific graphic instance of something that could easily be removed or censored or changed or whatever it is for modern audiences. Now, I'm hoping, of course, that doesn't happen. I wanted to stay as true and faithful to the original game as possible. But with the PC culture that we live in, I worry. I don't want to say I don't have faith. At least I don't have faith that they won't remove it. I worry that the potential is there. And that also brings me to our last point, which is possibly and probably the biggest issue with this whole thing. Now, we're not debating if Silent Hill 2 needs a remake, if it deserves a remake, if it warrants a remake, whatever it is. No, no. Now that the fact that it's happening, it's official, it's happening, it's guaranteed, blah, blah, blah. It's who and how it's going to be handled, which is where the biggest concern of all of this comes in. Silent Hill 2 Remake is being developed by Bloober Team. Now, if you don't know Bloober Team, well, most of you could be forgiven for not knowing Bloober Team. They're a relatively small studio. They're based in Poland, but most of their games are fairly niche, fairly small, kind of indie. In fact, they really only have two, even somewhat semblance of a high profile title. And I say some semblance, which means it's probably a little bit less than a medium profile title. No pun intended there. That one just accidentally slipped out. I truly mean that. I didn't even realize that until I said it. But those two games were one, Layers of Fear, which is, kind of depending on who you ask, it came out during that first person era of wannabe survival horror because companies weren't making survival horror games anymore. So other people were making like puzzle walking simulator versions as well. Outlast, Layers of Fear, for example. There's a few others too, but they made Layers of Fear. I've played Layers of Fear. It's not great. It's okay at best, but feels just completely like a walking simulator. But the one that most people, if anything, would know a little bit more about, including why, probably how this whole thing came about, is my inadvertent accidental pun from a moment ago, The Medium. Now, The Medium originally launched on PC and Xbox, but we all know it was a bit of a flop. It eventually came to PS4, 5? I think it only came to PS5 because I don't think they released it on Xbox. PS4 or Xbox One. But that was always a game that was compared somewhat to Silent Hill. In fact, when the game was first revealed, I saw the whole reveal at the time. I think it may have been during an E3 conference, or it was one of the Microsoft conferences anyway. And I actually originally thought, when I was watching that before it was revealed to be the medium, I thought it was a new Silent Hill game. Mainly because they got the musician, the composer, Akira Yamaoka, from Silent Hill to do the music. So it sounded like Silent Hill. They had the whole regular world, which then peels away into a demonic demon world, which is very Silent Hill if you've played any of the games. So yeah, it's the comparisons are definitely there, and that is probably how they got the attention of Konami and then made a proper pitch for it and all as well. Or maybe Konami went to them. I don't know the whole deal, but whatever happened, the medium is heavily inspired by Silent Hill, except for one thing: the medium is crap. I know. Okay, let me preface this. Let me rewind that back a second. For all intents and purposes, from all critical acclaim outpoint, from the general consensus, the reviews, all the different review scores, etc., and even including the people that I know that have played it, the medium is crap. I've seen almost nobody, be it Xbox, PC, or PlayStation gamer, praise the medium. There's one or two people that have mentioned something that was kind of interesting with a new mechanic they tried, the whole dual world split screen thing. But for all intents and purposes, the game is crap. From the general consensus, from what I've heard. And that worries me, because if you're making a Silent Hill esque, Silent Hill inspired game, and you make it crap, why would I trust you, or why would I have any faith that you can do the regular one? Now, you could argue that, well, the framework is already there. Everything is already done. The camera shots, they know what the FMVs, the cutscenes, the sequences, the layout, and all that as well. They just have to remake it. Right. But I don't trust them to do that. Because not only that, but when you look at some of the other stuff that Bloober Team has done, which is even lower profile than any of the two we've mentioned, they're all also considered pretty crap. Bloober Team is not a good development studio. They have no well-received games. Hell, they don't even have any decently received games. Blair Witch, hey, there's another one of those first-person survival horror, psychological horror, whatever it is games, just like Layers of Fear, that they also made. So you see the point here. You see why it has issues with me. Now, I'm going to be keeping my eye on this very, very closely. I will most likely be buying this unless it comes out over the course of the development and the course of whatever it is between now and release, that it significantly looks worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point where I just don't want to play it. I don't want to tarnish the memory or the reputation. But let's be real though, Silent Hill has fallen into massive disrepute since post Silent Hill 4 The Room. Especially, I just thank God Kojima never got to finally make that abomination that would have been Silent Hills. But anyway, the point is, we'll have to wait and see. I'm extremely worried that they will do injustice to one of the greatest games of all time. Not just one of my personal favorite, one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time. One that is just almost flawlessly designed and then given to a piece of shit studio like this.
Is it dead? What the hell is it? It's not human.